Unable to be with us today due to family illness. Lord Willis has been very supportive of the conference, and with his help we've been very fortunate in securing Professor Lisa Bayliss Pratt to speak. Lisa is Director of Nursing and Director of Education Quality at Health Education England. Lisa was previously Assistant Director of Nursing at Midlands and East Strategic Health Authority. In her early career, Lisa worked in a variety of nursing roles across the public and private sectors, specialising in emergency care and surgery. Since then, Lisa has taken up a range of national roles, including operational lead for preceptorship at the Department of Health. Lisa has always been a passionate advocate for research across all nursing and allied health professions. So over to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And I feel it's kind of two slight disadvantages. One, I'm not Lord Willis, and two, I'm a nurse amongst some fantastic allied health professions here today. But I think I'm going to take on a slightly different journey, because I think it's quite interesting to hear about what we're trying to do with nursing, how that might relate to the other professions. And then I wondered whether it would be helpful if we had a bit of a discussion around the future of the AHP workforce, because that would be really helpful for me. Now, I know I've only got 15 minutes, so we'll keep it tight. But I just thought it was so fantastic hearing you speak about the hubs and the research and the innovation. In Health Education England, we currently fund £13 million for clinical academic careers of what I hate to say, it's called the non-medical workforce, and that emerged out of the 10 strategic health authorities. But whether we're really doing the right thing with that programme, or whether we should be more focused about it, is something that my colleague Nikki Latham is looking at. But we're also aware of the complete injustice, if you like, around the funding for the medical clinical academic careers versus non-medical clinical academic careers, and we have to find ways of making that different in the future. And I think the way we look at it from the macro level at HE is we need to think about how do you create legitimate training posts that are part of the workforce planning that give people the time and capacity to undertake academia within their careers. So that's something that we're currently working at. In terms of, I think it's gone the wrong way. Something that just worth sharing around the nursing agenda, but I think it's also very relevant to allied health professions, are just the impacts that the NHS and the wider care sector has had on the workforce, the whole workforce in general. So certainly if we think back to 2012, the NHS was not in the best place with the Winterbourne View scandals, the Health and Social Care Act, which has sort of in many ways fragmented the NHS into lots of different arm's length bodies, and we all speak with different voices. It'd be interesting to see if you think that's good or bad. From a nursing perspective, we were not confident at all, because we knew Mid Staffordshire was going to report on the issues there, and we had this 6 C's notion around how do we demonstrate to the public that we can be kind, caring, compassionate. And I know many AHPs embraced that too, which I think was really positive. And then in 2013, I think we got to learn more, obviously, about the implications of the Francis report. And then, the Keogh mortality work was quite fascinating around the impacts that students and learners can have, and the fact that higher mortality rates are a clear indicator of care challenges. And that's something I think we need to do a lot more research on and learn a lot more about, because it was interesting when we looked at the Keogh report that looked at the troubled organisations. They weren't exactly what or where you'd necessarily expect. So lots of lessons for us to learn with that. And then in 2013, we established ourselves as Health Education England and produced for the first time ever a workforce plan for England. And what was quite interesting about that was it put the mirror up to the system and said, why is it that you've continued to grow the medical workforce, but yet everything else has peaked and troughed over the years? And again, be interesting to get your thoughts about where you think the AHP workforce will sit in the future in light of the comprehensive spending review. And then 2014 for us, we had some real significant challenges within the nursing fraternity as a result of the NICE Safe Staffing Guidance. Over 20,000 nursing posts were created almost overnight to try and respond to that guidance. And that's given us significant challenges. And for you working in the service, I can imagine it's very difficult when you've not got the right nurses in the right place. How does that affect the roles that you're trying to do? And how does it impact upon the wider team? And we haven't got a solution for that as it stands, because we know that just because you've got a particular number of people in one place doesn't always mean that they're going to give the best care. And is it nurses that we count, or is it care contact hours? Should we involve everybody in determining what safe care is in clinical areas? And again, we so need the research. We're so lacking in evidence. When Lord Willis undertook his review for us around the shape of caring, he couldn't believe how much of our practice was based on what somebody did a few years before, and we watch one and we do one. But when do we ever really say, actually, this is the evidence to base our practice on? So we need lots more help within that area. But then an exciting, I think, thing that happened in 2014 was the 5-year forward view and the focus on the prevention agenda, the focus on out-of-hospital care, the focus on communities. And for us, and many people say, therapists in the allied health profession workforce are absolutely critical to the success of the 5-year forward view, because it's not an illness model that we're trying to promote. It's about prevention, co-production, working with people in different ways. And I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, actually, it's the allied health professions that are going that can unlock some of the challenges that we face today. But I wonder if your voice is loud enough sometimes. I wonder if you get heard in the right places and if you're well understood. So that's something that I think we could talk about. And then I suppose the most significant thing around 2015, of course, we had the shape of care and review for nurses. But for us, the comprehensive spending review has got some fun, some opportunities, but also some real implications about what is the role of Health Education England in terms of its workforce planning, what is the role of Health Education England in making sure that we get the right people in the right places at the right time, and how on earth do we work the funding? I think that's a real issue for us moving forward. In terms of nursing, what's gone the wrong way? In terms of nursing, we have a big drive to recreate apprenticeships into the profession, and there is a nurse apprenticeship programme that we're trying to work through with the various bodies at the moment. But I don't know if people know about the apprenticeship levy, but it's quite a significant factor to the NHS, because it's an additional tax on nearly all of these organisations, and basically 0.5 to 2% of their income will be taxed in order to create apprenticeships. So in terms of thinking about the future for the allied health professions workforce, could you ever see a move to apprenticeships in some of the professions, or actually do you think that you will stimulate enough people to pay the $9,000 a year and then get the job afterwards? So it will be really interesting to get some thoughts around that. In addition to that, we're also creating a nursing associate role, which is seen to free up the opportunities for this role around, can it free up the graduate worker so that the graduate worker's doing what they should be doing, leading, managing, being responsible for quality, safety and care, and actually educate the support workforce a lot more and create a different team dynamic. So we're being asked to do quite a lot of challenging things in nursing that's really seeing a shift for us in terms of the last 20 years where nurses have gone to university, they've done a 3-year programme, a diploma or degree, and 50% has been in practice, which is supernumerary, but they got full student status. And we're being really challenged on that. One, because if I'm honest, the money, but two, there isn't the evidence and there isn't the confidence that actually the right model is the one that we've currently got. And a lot of that is due to the lack of evidence. So I suppose the message is, if you want to keep what you've got, you absolutely have to keep driving forward the evidence base around how does high quality education, how does the training that you have, the research that you undertake actually make a difference to patients and people, and how do you get that on the boards, on the wards, within the clinical teams, so that people take research seriously? Because what you were saying about people love research, then they get into the day job, and where's the time, where's the capacity, where's the workforce planning around how many researchers you should have in an organisation, and do we need to do that work? So that's sort of a flavour of what's going on, I guess, in the world. Really interested now, if it's possible, if we could have a few of your thoughts on what I've just said. So Do you think you'll find some apprenticeships coming your way for the allied health professions moving forward? Do you think you'll be asked to, do you need to formalise? I know you have fantastic assistants. Do you need to formalise that, and is that a career pathway to become one of the allied health professions? Any thoughts? Gosh, that's a long way up.
So my name's Laura Miller. I'm a dietitian from Nottingham University Hospitals.
Yeah.
I'm part of we have developed a research strategy group within therapies, which includes OTs, physios and dietitians, to try and look at those things. But in reference to the apprenticeships, internally in dietetics we have assistants, and it's almost we're having to develop our own programme. So they're doing the carer certificate.
Oh, fantastic.
That the nurses do within the
Yes,
trust.
yeah.
So I think there is a trajectory of maybe starting off with assistants rather than in terms of the dietetic
Yes.
clinicians and the degree level that they
Yeah.
have to achieve.
That's fantastic. Are there opportunities for those assistants to APEL parts of their degree in dietetics as a result of undertaking that learning?
Not as far as I know at the moment, but
No.
maybe that's a collaborative agenda. But I think the difficulty at the moment is the strategic links between the universities and the trusts and improving those.
Yes.
And I think from your point of view, from an education point of view, is that we do, when dietetic students come into the trust, we have tutorials about certain things, and we have a research and audit tutorial that I do for those students. And one of the feedbacks that I had most recently is that a lot of the research and audit agenda within the universities is directed at achieving, going in to do masters and PhDs, but not actually looking at the clinical and practical things of, evidence-based practice and how you use your research skills within the clinical setting.
Yes.
And I think that's probably a gap that's missing that they said, because that's what I focused on when we were doing the tutorial of what they felt they really missed. And that kind of broke down some of the barriers for them in terms of them thinking, oh, well, actually research might be possible. Research doesn't have to be an RCT, and actually it can be a literature review or something like that. So I think there is a level of taking that back into the courses for AHPs and making it seem more realistic and achievable for people.
I mean, I certainly think, as I've gone on this journey, I've been in the role now 3.5 years, and I've got to talk about nursing because I've focused a lot on that. We usually expect, but there seems to be this real paucity of investment value in the supporting workforce. And research seems to be absent or right at the bottom, whereas actually, surely, as the frontline often givers of the care, they should at least have some research awareness and some basic training. It's not an elite business. It should be core business, and I think we've all got a job to make that happen, and for it not to be intimidating, because I think that's sometimes how it can feel.
Hello. Hello, hi. I'm Helen Jennings. I'm a missions tutor up at York St John. And I think what you're saying about the apprenticeships is very interesting because at the moment we broadly get around about a third of our students are straight from further education. Around about a third are people who are coming, maybe have done maybe a first degree or maybe had kind of, 1 or 2 years in industry and are in their kind of mid-early 20s, and then the later third are mature students, often looking for a second career. My big worry is that people having to fund themselves, and this idea of the apprenticeship, we could end up with a two-tier system.
Absolutely.
And that really concerns me.
Yeah.
That essentially people will make decisions not on the basis of kind of talent or skill or what's right for them as a person, but simply on economics.
Yes.
And I think that's deeply unfair.
Yeah.
And I think it could also mean that we end up losing some fantastic applicants.
I mean, I think that is one of our massive risks. I think from maybe a HEI perspective and working with service, part-time routes and flexible ways. Years ago I was a senior lecturer at Wolverhampton and we had a part-time nursing route. It took 6 years, and I have to say it was painful to administer because, 6 years, but actually I do think we have to think really differently about how we attract second career people. For nursing, it's 28 the average age. So we know it's not an 18. But will that see a shift for us? Will actually we end up with more 18 and 19-year-olds? And is that better or worse? Again, there's no blooming evidence to help us with it.
It just concerns me that
Yeah.
we have some wonderful applicants who are 18, but equally we have some people who bring amazing life experience,
Yes.
wonderful things that they have kind of discovered along the way. And I'm really worried that we will end up losing them, not because of talent or because of what they bring, but because they haven't got
The
cash.
access. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is, that's a real, I think that's a real, genuine worry for everybody.
Yes.
And I am not sure, and I don't think anybody's got a crystal ball. I don't think we know what's going to happen. But I do think this idea of saying, oh, well, we have perhaps this apprenticeship option. Yes, it introduces flexibility, but who ends up on what? It's the reasoning underpinning that is the worry.
Yeah. I agree. I think from a proactive, positive stance, we have to get serious about apprenticeships and what that means and how we make it work and how we get the rigour, how we get the quality, how we attract the right people, because it's happening in front of our eyes. But that's great opportunities, but we need our employers to be really as serious as we are, I guess, about the rigour, the quality and the standard. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Fiona Webber, I'm a podiatrist in Sheffield. Am I right, I've been in this job a long time, am I right in thinking that NHS bursaries for AHP courses have been cut for degree entry level?
So part of the comprehensive spending review package and the savings that will have to be made, so by 2017 it will move to a student loan system. So it says moving to a different system. And it opens up the market from a very, you will have a view on this, but from a positive perspective, there's no caps potentially on the numbers, as long as you can sort the placements out. You're freer, I think, as a system to have, to let the market determine what roles you need and where you need them.
Hi, I'm Chris Wood. I'm an art therapist, and I really like the idea of apprenticeships widening access to becoming fully qualified. But the worry is that people will languish in apprenticeship roles for a long time, and that the health service will actually have a decrease in skilled practitioners. But I do think if it's managed properly with really good safeguards, it could be good.
I think so.
But it's just a worry. I suppose all of us fear that there is a tendency to reduce costs,
Yes.
and apprenticeships could be used in that way, and they could be run badly. We've seen a lot of apprenticeships in other areas run very, very badly.
Yeah.
So controls on the quality of apprenticeship seems really important if it's genuinely to give a wider access.
Yeah, I agree. I think on a final really positive note, it's frontline clinicians like you, it's people out there working with students and learning and working in the environments or linking with service from a university or academic role that is going to be key to making it, of a high quality, to get the rigour and attract the right people. So I think we can do it, but it is a massive change that's certainly facing us for next year. So thank you, and thank you for the comments, much appreciated.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. You've given us a lot to think about for the future, so
Great,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
So our next speaker is